Hello, and welcome everybody to the first inaugural episode of Table Talk, a podcast where we discuss all things IKEA furniture. I'm joined with. Oh, is that not what we're doing?
No, that's fantastic. Keep going.
I'm joined here with Nick, Nate, and Blake. How you doing, guys?
I am great. Fantastic.
Howdy.
I'm doing pretty swell.
So, what are we actually doing?
We're actually discussing general nerdy things, mostly things related to tabletop games, hence the name. So yeah, that's how we're gonna be starting out.
Cool.
Something I kind of wanted to talk about, and we had talked about this the other day when we were kind of drafting up the idea for this, but Nick wasn't here, so I'd love to get kind of like what he thought about it. But we had a lengthy conversation about it, so if you had to pick any kind of like medium outside of like a video game, a book, a movie, whatever, to be turned into a full either a campaign or like a module of some kind for D&D, what would it be? Could be anything.
That's okay. That's a good question.
I personally would enjoy seeing, and Blake and Nate know this, but I would love to see Borderlands adapted to a tabletop version.
Oh, yeah.
I think
definitely.
Because I think each game has like its own like class system, and not only that, but most classes with a subclass, you have your skill tree that has like the 3 separate ones. You could just pick one of those and go. I mean, usually they're more cohesive, like if you have a general kind of like good even spread across all of them. But I think that it would be able to be adapted in a way that could favor one over the other and make it its own thing.
Okay, yeah, all right. That's actually.
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree, and we definitely saw that in your original campaign we played way back when.
Yeah,
it was like that kind of half.
Yeah, good
vibe
point.
With it, I actually didn't give my opinion on what I wanted because Nate offered to read his book, which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was tired as hell. But Nick, I'll let you go first, and I'll give my insights.
Okay. Currently looking through my Steam library. I saw I don't know if somebody already said this, but I saw Dark Souls, and
oh shit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's kind of obvious because it's like fantasy setting, but also I don't know. I just really like kind of like the atmosphere where like you're just kind of like alone and you're just exploring and like figuring out stuff on your own.
And honestly,
I think in a campaign that's pretty cool as well.
And the lore goes so deep in Dark Souls. Like when I played Dark Souls 3, I just played it through and I was like, oh, big sword, like because that was it. It didn't, you just killed the big boss at the end of the thing, and it was a different one each time, and they did a cool thing. But like each one, like has a story, and that's so crazy because as just a rinky-dink player, you don't even actually know that unless do the research.
Would be pretty cool.
Watch the British guy on YouTube explain the whole thing for an hour.
I think like it would take a very special DM though.
For sure.
Not one that only understands the like core fundamentals of the game, but one that can operate where players are by themselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because like Dark Souls is a very independent story. It's like it really helps you. Like I don't know. The story is like how small you really are in this whole thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
actually,
you're going through like just slicing and dicing, but like they have like major repercussions. But you are just this dude.
Mm-hmm.
There were like hundreds of you beforehand that just failed, but you're just you.
Yeah,
so
and
it's kind of interesting.
Having like that'd be a pretty good basis for like a one-on-one session too, which I've never done, but like just one player, one DM.
It's a real thing.
I mean, just to give my insights, because I know Nick will agree with me. Hollow Knight.
Yeah, of course.
D&D.
Yeah,
course.
I was not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting that.
Yeah.
I was like, he's gonna say fucking Hollow Knight.
But I
Dude,
mean, Hollow Knight
would be
doesn't.
so good. Same thing with Hollow Knight.
Yeah, Hollow Knight would be
like,
good. It's just that like Hollow Knight doesn't
have
have
to-
like separate classes or whatever, like the type of thing you'd
Mhm.
expect to like actually create a character. You don't really create a character in Hollow Knight, whereas in Dark Souls
Yeah.
you kind of do,
That's true.
or you literally
But I mean,
do.
you did that pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy enough to do. I mean, you definitely have to like kind of separate yourself from the Hollow Knight story to make your own. I
Yeah.
feel. 'Cause,
I
like,
mean, there are different styles of play. Like a lot of people focus
Right.
more, and the charm system. I guess you could kind of adapt that to a sort of semi-class system. So don't know.
True, yeah.
I agree. Well, do you have any others, Nick? Because I'll go into mine because I'm very excited. Because I finally thought of a couple.
Yeah, I don't really think so.
Okay, here we go. So, I would like to see like, and I think there is not even a module, but like a whole like system that bases itself off of like customization of superpowers, where like you have like a
Yeah.
certain amount of like points to spend, and you can take certain abilities, which
Okay.
is super cool, and like that could be done really well. And I haven't really tried. I haven't like looked it up enough to see it, but I know that like Cyberpunk, whatever, I think it's called Cyberpunk Red or something. They do that kind of thing with like abilities and stuff. And I've always wanted to try that now that they have a game coming out.
Mhm.
But also, you've never. I don't think any of you have seen the show, but Demon Slayer, super D&D
Really?
campaignable, like easily. There's so not even D&D campaign. You probably can find a different system to run it because it's definitely more combat focused. So maybe you'd find one that's more intensive in its rules,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you could run that. What's that D&D like advanced combat thing that Nate was talking about a while ago?
Greyhawk?
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
could
yeah,
be
the,
really
like,
good.
rhythm
Something
shit
like
That
like
could be
yeah.
really good. But there's so in Demon Slayer there's a lot of different like breathing techniques.
Cool.
So like there's like water breathing, lightning breathing, and stuff like that, and that could be your like class system kind of,
Lightning
because they all do very
Okay.
different things. And I don't know, there's bug breathing. I don't really understand how that works.
You
But
got
there's
all the
also
Pokemon types.
Yeah, there's also love breathing. So you know where immediately you are on my side. But I think it'd be really interesting, and I also recommend that you guys watch the show because it's really cool. But
I might.
um,
The art style
hard
is
to-
neat.
dude, oh shit, bro, you don't even know. like it's like I was when it won best animated show of the year, and I was like, I don't really know why. And then I watched the first 3 episodes, and I was like, I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's probably my pick. That and I don't know. I feel like not even like this is more of like a general idea, but like I want to like capture the feeling of playing Breath of the Wild in a D&D campaign. Like, 'cause it's a whole different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like that Breath of the Wild does, you know?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Like it's like
Like that open worldness of it.
yeah, it's like
Mhm.
instead of like dropping you in an open world and being like you could do all these things, it's like it drops you in an open world and be like, all right, go ahead,
Mm-hmm.
just go, have
Yeah.
fun. It doesn't tell you anything. It says these are shrines, you can do them, but everything else, that's up to you.
Yeah, you could
Mm,
go
yeah.
fight. You could go
You can
fight
fight Ganondorf
Ganon
right off the bat.
immediately.
Yeah.
You take your stick and be like, I'm gonna go fight that bitch. You could point at Ganon's castle and be like, I'll get you, bitch. And he'll be like, now? Are you sure?
You sure about that? Are you sure about
And
that?
you'll like beat, and he'll bunny hop off a goblin and just fly yourself to his castle.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely that feeling.
Yeah. Can we incorporate the glitches as well?
Oh, easily.
Mm.
You gotta make like 3 consecutive like acrobatics checks at like DC 25.
And suddenly you're inside Ganon, and you can just kill him from the inside out. You just phase right through him.
Yeah, I think that's probably my top 2 picks. Probably for what I'd like to achieve or do at some point.
Oh, also, sort of side note, they are actually making a Hyper Light Drifter tabletop game like system for that. So
nice.
All right,
that's cool. I think
we might have to try that. That's really dope.
I haven't looked at it in a while, honestly, but
I've been meaning to get back to a cyberpunk setting. It definitely has its place in my heart of like what I want to do. All right. Does anybody else have any like topics? Some hot topics?
I mean, I can. I've got Plebit up on my phone at the moment. I looked up D&D hot takes.
Hot take.
Yeah. And this one attacks me, so I'm gonna skip it. And
well, what is it? You gotta say it now.
Okay, so yeah, we'll start with that one actually because it's the one with the most words. A brand new DM deciding to homebrew their first campaign is putting themselves on the short track to a very mediocre first campaign at best. Most DMs who change core mechanics through homebrew are really just slapping a band-aid on the larger problem. They don't know how to make their game interesting. And I don't like that because it makes me feel bad because that's exactly what I did. I didn't homebrew game mechanics. I just did a lot of unorthodox DMing things. You know, I mean, you guys were there, so a lot of the things I did definitely. Well, I mean, it was my first full length campaign, so I had to improv a whole lot of it, and I never read the Dungeon Master's manual or whatever because I was like, whatever, I'll figure it out. And well, I mean, I sort of did.
No, I think you definitely did. I don't want to like. I mean, I look. I totally get it because I had the luxury, and I say luxury as a joke because it was torture. I had the luxury of DMing straight after everyone was super upset that our DM went to college. So I was like, in my mind, and it might not be like that, but I was like, shit, bro, I gotta make this good. And so that was super stressful. So like, and I didn't read the rules. And it was definitely like there were some things that definitely were like wrong with how I was doing things now that I look back on it, but like I mean, it's all like figuring it out, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with running pre-made like adventures, but like I think just getting a few cuts to make a better story is way better than just kind of getting handheld. I don't know. I think the faster way to like creatively thinking about the game is to just kind of take the hits and learn off of it.
Yeah.
I don't think like, I don't know. I think D&D is a game that you just kind of have to experiment with and like have people kindly tell you when you're doing it wrong.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's why the other players are there. They're not there to berate you with, well, some of them are assholes. But like we don't have that experience.
I think there's some mechanics that like you can kind of move around a little bit and
yeah, I mean we have there's homebrew rules and like stuff like that. I definitely agree. And I feel
one
like that's
I personally feel doesn't get messed with enough is advantage and or mostly disadvantage. And Blake, you were there for this, but I had someone try to steal someone's false eye out of their head as they were conscious talking to them.
Right.
And I was like, that's not just disadvantage. That's ultra disadvantage. I was like, roll 3 d20s and take the like. That is like, all right. That is. I mean, I'll let you do it, but like that's good. You're not going to be able to do it. Like that's dumb as hell.
Yeah, I think like that kind of stuff is like very game oriented because like, and it's like pacing as well, because like it depends on what's happening in your session, on like when I want to like loosen a little bit. Like something super serious is happening, I'm not gonna make the joke of like, oh, trip ults are disadvantage, because like I don't want that to shift.
Yeah,
right.
But like I definitely feel like there's a time and a place for that kind of stuff. Like I mean, I don't know, it's all very situational, and I don't think it's wrong to mess with it.
I mean, it was funny.
You should mess with it because. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was all fucky. I don't know. I mean, rules, I think, in D&D, like, there's some that you just can't change, and, like, you gotta kind of enforce. But, like, there are definitely some that you could bend a bit, depending on who you're playing with.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the whole other thing, is who you're playing with and what's their experience with the game, and are they gonna try and rules lawyer you and be like, oh, you can't do that? Then, well, yeah,
Right.
then it's like, oh, well, okay, I guess I won't have fun then. But if you're with a cool group of people that that can experiment with changing rules and stuff, then yeah, I guess that would be the
Right.
first step into allowing that kind of thing.
I think like with especially with changing rules, I think like changing core mechanics is kind of weird. Like I think like small changes is better, or enhancements is definitely more welcome.
Right.
Like I think this, people might not agree, but I think the DM rolling death saves super fucking scary. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
Like I that adds so much more. Like that person is down, we need to go help them. We don't know how they're doing. Like that is so much better. And those little things,
terrifying
like
when it happens in the first like 2 sessions.
Yeah, right.
It happens twice in the first 2 sessions.
Crazy.
1 per session.
Yeah, it's death. And especially when you're like lower levels as well, because like you don't have big spells to bring people back.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think you just kind of have to do it in moderation to kind of feel out who you're playing with. But I mean, once you do that, you have free reign. And I mean, it depends on it depends on a lot of things. But what was the original question? I feel like we just kind of started talking.
Homebrewing your first campaign is like an excuse because you can't make the campaign interesting.
No,
and
I think you should always homebrew your first campaign.
Uh-huh.
That's just me. 100%.
I don't know. I think it depends how comfortable you are.
Well, yeah, of course. It's situational. If it's like your first ever like hearing about D&D, maybe not. But like if you've like seen it and like saw like interacted with it before, and you like if you're a player and then you decide to DM, I think you'll have an easier time. But if you have never touched D&D, maybe stick to it. Maybe stick to it.
Yeah, like if you're a player for a decent amount of time,
or find a DM that can. Yeah,
you're gonna have to get a feel for the rules, and if you don't, having to get a feel for the rules and having to like go through the process of like figuring out how to prepare, like with the homebrew stuff, that can be a lot to deal with.
Yep, world building is definitely the most terrifying thing you will ever encounter. I don't know what am I trying to say here. I totally lost what I was going to say, but that's okay.
What would you say is...
Yeah, if you...
Go on.
I think D&D is like dominoes. Here, welcome to my shitty metaphors.
Like,
because like
the pizza
when you play, you learn
toy?
this one class. Yeah. You learn this one class so well when you play first time around, right? And then like if you decide to DM, you start to like make connections. Because like I played sorcerer first, so spellcasting had it down, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Granted, it was rough. I mean, I had to learn a lot.
Oh yeah.
Spells is maybe don't play a full caster first.
Yeah, I definitely concur with that. My first character was a wizard, and that was a fucking mess. I was super playing it wrong, but yeah.
But like I think like once I learned that, and then I had to DM my own campaign, I started to be like, oh, this is like this, and this is like this, and this also applies to a fighter, but in a different sense. So it was like kind of like cross connecting. Like I can only cast one spell, but also a fighter can only attack once until this, and then like I kind of started to like cross between like different classes, and it's more like just like over time you learn. It's not like you're gonna sit down and be like, I'm gonna learn D&D. It's like more or less like you making the connections and like learning through playing and fucking up.
Yeah,
Because
I feel
you're
like you
gonna
can learn what each thing does in D&D. Like you can sit down and read the entire player's manual and know, like, I know all the spell effects, I know this, I know that, but you don't really know how to apply it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, easily. It's like planning for a session almost. Like you could plan every detail, every single like stone brick on a giant pathway, and then your players can come in with a giant fucking sledgehammer and just go the other direction. It's like, it's super like, I don't know, it's scary. Players are scary.
like how
They'll fuck with your shit.
like how we had so much money in Nate's future campaign because he expected us to buy the ships, but he didn't expect us to steal them all.
Every single one. God, that was so stupid. I mean, first time around, it was brilliantly executed. Like, my character walked on the ship, I called the guy over, slight whistle, snap neck. Drag on the ship, fly away.
Yeah.
Rinse, repeat, profit.
Yeah,
Rinse,
we
repeat,
did the same
gambling
thing
night.
every time, and he was still like, "No, they'll never steal it again." And we executed the exact same plan every time.
Every time. Easily. Dumb. Okay. So we talked about new D&D experiences, which is always good.
What do you think?
How about this? Oh, you got something. Go for it. No, go for it.
What do you think is the hardest aspect of D&D, both as a player and as a DM?
Ooh,
like the
okay,
hardest one to
I got
grasp that like you really got to get down if you're gonna do either one.
Okay, I can do this because I think the hardest thing. Okay, I'll go player first, and then I'll go DM. Player, for me, the idea of concentration was always hard to figure out. Because for so long I thought you could cast a concentration spell and that was it, and you had to focus on that and you couldn't do anything else. But then I learned you can cast a concentration spell and then also cast a non-concentration spell while you're concentrating, and I was like, what? Bro, I would have been 20 times more effective like last campaign if I knew that. And then also like learning that concentration was like just basically a con save and that you could add your modifier to it, because there were so many times I just rolled a straight roll and hope for the best.
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and I mean that's like, I guess me just learning how to play a good spellcaster because I played so many. But yeah, concentration definitely was one thing I just didn't pick up for the longest time. And as a DM, I think, combat's always difficult, and that's like the easy way to. That's the easy route when it comes to difficulty. But I think like encouraging players is probably the hardest thing to get in.
Yeah.
Like, even with experienced players, to just pick them up and be like, look at my idea, do you like it? And then getting reception and then working with that, that's the hardest thing. And it's getting them excited even before the game starts.
Yeah.
I think, especially new players too, probably more so with new players, but like taking your idea and like trying to morph it so that these people enjoy it is probably harder. And like that just leads into everything else you have to do, which is also very difficult. But I think once you start and like start doing voices and like trying to get them engaged, that's the hard part. Like, because like, I mean, a lot of people that aren't very comfortable with themselves play D&D sometimes, and like you are literally playing everyone, and sometimes those people are confident and it's like super weird, but like you got to do it because like then you just make a way better world.
Right.
But, yeah, that's me. If everyone else wants to go, it's my spiel.
I guess I'll say as a player, there's like and I guess also
AC.
No, I guess, and also as a DM, I guess you're gonna have to pay attention to this. But like, there's a lot of like in combat, like there's a lot of like minutia, I guess, when it comes to the rules. Like when it comes to like having certain things in your hands, or like how many things you have to have in your hands to cast a spell, or like how, and that changes depending on like what spell you're casting, obviously, and like, you know, clerics can do different things. Like you can have a shield as a focus with your holy symbol on it, but then you can't do that with other classes technically.
Right.
But then again, that's also stuff that kind of like gets ignored sometimes, which, I mean, it's like each group is different, obviously, but initially those rules are kind of there to just prevent you from going crazy with your actions and stuff. But
that's true.
I don't know.
And I think also like enemy actions get like mistreated. Like when people throw an encounter, they maybe like make this mental gap of like, these are enemies and they should lose, and like don't use them to their full potential.
Yes.
Just to make it easier.
Yes.
Like you guys saw, I was finna like disengaging, backing up. Like I wanted to like treat these people as like living things.
Yeah.
So like if they wanted to run. Like if they wanted to back up. Like I feel like that like in some DMs' minds, they're like, they should lose, therefore I don't have to use these abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of finna clapped your cheeks a little bit. But like, I mean like, and even with like homebrewing stuff, like once you like homebrew something into an enemy and then like they start losing and you're like, maybe I don't want to use it. Like you should, because like then it's consistent and then you know what to do, and then the players will learn off of that, know what to expect, and then plan better. And like that's what I want to enforce a lot of the times too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like combat should. I feel like the main problem with combat being boring is that it's too easy sometimes. Like that's not all the time. Sometimes some DMs just don't like combat, and that's fine. I mean, I love roleplaying much of the next guy, but like I feel like a big chunk of it, if it's tense and close, then it's more fun probably.
Yeah. As a DM, you definitely should be like, you shouldn't be like, all right, this is an encounter that is supposed to like challenge the players, and if it's too hard, I'm just gonna like, you know, make it easier for them on the fly. Like it kind of should just be like, I mean, you can do that kind of like off on the side and like not tell anyone sometimes, but like the best thing to do, you don't do it with like obvious, like with the monsters making like obvious tactical errors, like especially like, you know, if you're fighting a monster that's smart, like if you're fighting a mind flayer or something, like the mind flayer is not gonna like just walk in the middle of everyone and stand there. They're actually gonna be smart about it. So you kind of have to think in terms of what is the monster thinking, not what am I thinking I should do for the players. So that just creates better and more tense combat, I think.
Yeah, I think like an easy way, and it's like kind of cheap, but an easy way to like make things easier, drop some hit points a little bit, maybe don't tell anyone obviously, but like you want to keep that like realm of like, this is the monster you're fighting. Like if you're fighting a death tyrant and their only job is to protect that one chest, they aren't going to move away from the chest that they're protecting to go fight they're going to stay by the chest and fucking cast all the spells they have, because death tyrants are fucking OP. And like and if they're not gonna run up to you and try to use their claw attack or whatever, like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
you gotta like, you just like, if you stay consistent and kind of, because like I feel like as a DM you get attached to the players as well. I mean, like, you know, the players obviously are attached to their characters, but like the DM, you're like, you don't want to kill them, but you also want to kill them.
Yeah.
And it's like really a weird balance mentally, because like if they start losing, you want to like immediately like think of a quick way to like scale it back, but like sometimes you just gotta have like a little faith that they'll make the right play, and like just be like, they're gonna be fine, it's cool, they're gonna make a smart decision, someone's gonna figure it out,
Yeah, it's the whole. But I like Lucas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like and it's like there's a little gap of like leeway. It's like maybe, especially with like boss weaknesses in D&D, you know, like obviously they might have like resistance to like psychic damage. They might be weak to psychic damage, but there's like other like obvious things you might have to do, and if the players don't start doing it, and you're like, bro, come on, please. Like, I felt that entire tension during the Lich fight in our original, in Nate's campaign. I was like, we're supposed to be doing something so bad. Like, when she made that, like, big shield, I was like, we're supposed to be doing something right now, and we're not doing it. But, like, that also can be good, like, for the players, when they realize that they're not doing something right. And that obviously makes people start freaking out and doing stupid shit.
Yeah, that's actually another thing. Don't make boss monsters a big pool of hit points that just kind of does damage every so often. Make them a bit more interesting, even if it's just like
make a Goblin 4.
Goddamn, fuck Goblin 4. Goblin 4 if he doesn't come back for the big bad evil guy fight, not worth it.
Literally, I will never touch Goblin 4 again. No, yeah, definitely make, if you make the enemies smart, like, that's way better. I think,
like, even if they move around interestingly, or the environment is just a bit different and there's some like difficult terrain that's obviously in the way or something like that, just to like trip up the players more than a large health pool, then
oh my god, yeah. Utilize all the rules at your disposal. Fucking make that bitch summon a wall of stone so it can use it as a full cover. Like, do some shit like that. That stuff's so cool. Like, when the players realize the DM is here to play a game of chess, but like the DM is also
dimensional chess, yeah.
Yeah, but like the DM is also, you know, playing a 1v5 basically, like, and they are like, they finna not gonna lose. It's way better when you realize that you're fighting the DM, but you're also fighting, you know, 7th level spell slots when you're level 4 or something,
right?
Which is way more scary. But you know, that's combat. Nate, give us your take. Hardest thing to learn.
Hardest thing to learn as, and you know what? I will double back to the using monsters' abilities to like realistically, in the sense that, you know, the monsters, and well, I say monsters, but the enemies are like, they want to win too. And as a DM, right, I'll start with the overall. As a DM and a player, I've found that keeping track of everything that all of my creatures can do is probably the most difficult for me. Because, you know, the more things that you have at your disposal, the more you've got to look through. And of course, for someone like me who, you know, double, triple, and quadruple checks before I make a decision, I don't want to like hold up combat by being like, well, hold on, let me analyze the spell book that, you know, this monster has, and let me see what everything that it can do, and then, well, hold on, it would make this decision, and, you know, so I might just throw something out there and be like, okay, well, this just does damage, so I'll do that, and then, you know, I hit the player, and it's like, okay, great, mission accomplished. But then I'm looking through again, and it's like, well, I could have used that, and that would have gotten the monster into a more advantageous spot, you know, next round. And, you know, it's not as realistic now, or it's not as believable anymore, because they're just trying to remove them rather than protect itself. And of course, that is an entirely different beast in and of itself, in that, you know, how would a monster or an enemy think or act in a combat setting? So that was definitely one of the more difficult things as a DM, but almost I think it's more difficult as a DM, because you have to control a bunch of things. As a player, it's more,
you got one dude.
Yeah, you have one dude that can do a bunch of things, and you got to keep track of all that. But I think that as a DM, it kind of gets diffused a little bit because if if you have a bunch of enemies or a bunch of monsters or whatever attacking the party, and they're like you have a couple of the same thing, then if you forget to do one thing with one creature, then it's like, oh, okay, well maybe the other one can do that. But as a player, you only have that one dude. And so if you mess up and you just decide like, oh well, I don't know what I'm gonna do as a paladin, so I'm just gonna walk up and hit the giant spider or something with my hammer, and then you look and you had a spell that you could have used that might have like, I don't know, put it to sleep or something, then it's like, oh well, I wasted my turn by doing, by defaulting to the only thing I could think of, which is hitting it.
Right.
So that's definitely a tough thing for me, and mainly why I didn't want to play a character that relied on casting in this new campaign, because I knew that it would come to that where if I was looking through all of my spells and I didn't find the one that would be good for that situation, then it's like, oh well, I've just, even if the party isn't consciously like, ah, geez, Nate, you idiot, you let us all down because you didn't do this. I'm thinking that,
Right.
oh, I've subconsciously let my party down simply by not doing something that's more helpful than just hitting it and maybe, I don't know, distracting the monster for like a second.
Right.
I think it's also super helpful, and I think when you play a caster and not knowing like a lot of it's a lot helpful to have a table that is more supportive of a new caster. Like when so Nick is playing a sorcerer in Nothurst,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been a couple times like I know some of the spells he has. I don't know all the spells he has because he hasn't used them all. But there's like some instances where I'll be like, maybe that wasn't the right spell. But like I know that like playing a caster, you start to pick up like once you understand your spells fully and like this like there's like a gap, there's like it's like a learning like wall. Because when I play a caster, I'm like, I know all these spells. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy, and I know when to use them. But there's like a time where like the players don't know that, and like you gotta like just work with it.
Yeah.
And just kind of like be supportive, because like if you cast the wrong spell and someone's like, hey, that you should have done this because you have this spell, that's like immediately diminishing.
Mm-hmm.
Like then you're like, I don't want to play caster, fuck that shit. And like that's as a person that's like, please play a caster, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And like that doesn't help, and you should support people and be like, and don't be like, hey, that's the wrong spell. Be like, hey, maybe use like suggest it during combat, or like, it's. I think D&D is like definitely when it comes to learning like abilities, be more supportive than a detriment.
Absolutely.
Don't call them out on it. Just kind of mention, hey, can you do this? Like.
Yeah, because I mean, oftentimes, especially with new players, like you're like thinking about like, oh, what are they gonna do? And you're like, oh, logically, I think they should do this, that, and the other thing. And then they don't do that, and that's usually because they don't know that they can do that. And it's like,
right, yeah.
And so you don't want to like berate them for being like, why did you take this action that was like so awful? Instead, you just tell them like, hey, I think it would have been better if you did this, or like just like gently remind them that like, hey, you can do this, and then yeah.
Like I think a perfect example is to refer to yesterday. Was it yesterday? I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it was yesterday. One of our players was at low health, and they wanted to run away. And I think it was Nick. He kindly reminded that they could disengage with their action, and that it wasn't a special ability that only some people had.
Which I will admit, I thought that disengaging was a special thing that only like rogues could do.
Well, they can disengage as a bonus.
Yeah, and that's where the miscommunication came in.
Yeah, and that's when you gotta like, just gently remind that like some things you can do. It's just at more of a cost.
Yeah, because it's kind of annoying sometimes.
I would have destroyed her.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying sometimes to just like kind of sit there and read through all of the rules, which I understand that. So like you kind of just want to dive in, And then when you dive in
don't
and
think
you
I've
get
ever
into
looked at the
combat and you're
player's
like,
handbook.
oh, there are all of these actions that you can take, but like you just don't know. Like you think the actions that you can take are like attack.
And like as a DM, you gotta like
move, attack.
you gotta like trust
End
your
of story.
players. Yeah, you gotta like trust your players sometimes, because like Nate was when you were like, I'm gonna knock the wind out of him. I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, but also I have faith that you know what you're doing enough to go with it and not regret it.
Yes.
There's like a level of like trust of like these people want to play these classes, so they must understand it a bit more than I do, even as the DM. So I have to kind of like work with them
Mm-hmm.
and just run with it. And if it's wrong, fix it later so that it's more consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
Like-
as a player, you kind of have to have faith in your DM that if you want to take some like really weird, unorthodox action, that they can like resolve it in a good way. And of course, as a DM, you have to have faith in your own understanding of the rules and your players and stuff to actually be able to take what they say and
twist it. Yeah, I definitely agree. And like I think that there's a lot of actions that you can do that aren't necessarily in the rules, and then a good DM will be like, yeah, you can take that, and like make the rules and just put more like stack rules to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a check with this, or like, mixing it up to like make it work.
Right.
Like when you were talking to bring back, you were like, I'm gonna hit him in the stomach and knock him out. I was like, all right, cool idea. I don't know what the fuck that is. And before I realized that it was like an ability that you have, because you were speaking like it was, and I was like, okay, it must be an ability he has. I was like, okay. I was almost thinking, okay, I'm gonna have him make his attack, but I'm also gonna have the I think it was a goblin.
Yes.
I was gonna have the goblin make a con save, because some people can get hit in the stomach and be like, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
But like then I was like, oh, it's this ability, so I had to back my thinking and be like, no, this is just something that is going to happen, because you don't want to take away an ability from a player,
Right.
with changing it. So like there's like that's probably just more trust going into it.
That's
Right, yeah.
true. You kind of have to like.
You gotta let them have their fun with their class. You can't like take away their ability with what you think is fun.
Yeah,
right.
or what
You kind of have to let them inject their own flavor, but then at the same time, I don't know. I still don't really know how to communicate that efficiently, of like trying to describe an action you want to take, but then also saying like, this is gonna have the effect of an ability that I have, so it should do that ability thing. I don't know. I still don't really know how to communicate that as a player, but
it's definitely more difficult. Like, and especially it depends on what class as well, because like some classes like you want to add a lot of flavor. Like, trust me, I'm Guy Fieri. I'm the king of Flavor Town. I play a love cleric. Like, okay, like we all get it. Like, and I'm the king of throwing all this flavor in and rolling a 1. But like, and that's happened more times than I can count. But like, yeah, there's definitely some abilities where I'm like, that's cool, but like I want to like make it more my character, but I also want to efficiently communicate to the DM so it's not confusing that I'm doing that.
Right.
So I don't have to be like, I'm doing this and then I describe it. 'Cause that's lame. That doesn't flow as well. And you want to like make it enjoyable for everyone else, because like I like seeing other people add flavor. Like, I like my flavor as much as possible, but like if you got a pasta fazool over here, this dish, and I want to dive into that shit, like I love seeing other people do this cool ass shit.
Absolutely.
And like the flow is that's all it's about. Is like I think like, I guess to give an example with a monk is like I take a bottle and I smash it over the head. Like obviously like in a bar fight that makes sense. But like in a fight, and he's like, I'm gonna stunning strike him. Like, that's just more situational. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good way of like showing a monk doing a stunning strike without actually just being like, I punch him,
right?
And
yeah.
Stunning strike. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's easier with martial classes to convey what you're doing, like than casters. Obviously, it's not easy, but like, especially with stuff like Commander Strike or like, you know what I mean, with like fighters,
right?
you could easily incorporate that to an action the player is doing to give someone else a turn to attack.
Yeah.
But with casters, it's like, or cleric abilities or like warlock abilities, you're like I don't know, like it's very precise on what it is, but you also want to like twist it a bit.
Yeah.
And it's weird. But flavor is hard to do. It's easy and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to think of, hard to implement, hard to execute without feeling super weird.
Oh, I guess one thing, since I'm playing a Pact of the Chain Warlock in another campaign, one of the hardest things for me to do is to figure out how to describe my familiar taking the help action. I don't know what to do there. I'm like, he flies in their face, and yeah, that's it.
That's true. I do think that would be kind of difficult because like it's a small being.
Yeah.
That's like, it's not like super strong or anything. Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. I also feel like super awkward describing magic sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like, because like if someone doesn't know what spell you're doing, they're like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, but then you finish it and they're like, oh, but like there's like that middle section where I'm like, bro, please, it's cool, I promise.
Yeah.
And then you roll a 1 and it's not cool. And...
Yeah, whatever. All right, we're not gonna talk about my spiritual weapon like that. All right.
Though I mean, I think that kind of reflects how people view magic in the world, because like you can tell. Like, if a wizard's casting a spell,
true.
you can tell the wizard is casting a spell, but you don't really know what spell they're casting until, like, the actual effect is happening. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
at least most of the time.
Yeah, it depends. I think I'm talking more, like, on a player level, though. Like, you're sitting at the table, and you're describing, and everyone's just, like, looking at you, and they're not getting it. And I'm like, bro, please. Like, I promise, there's an end to this. there's an end game, I promise. But I was gonna say what's the sexiest spell in the game, but I think we all kind of can. I mean, no, let's ask that question. Sexiest spell you've ever seen? Go. Quick fire round. Ashanti, sexiest spell in the game. To your opinion.
Could I pick the sexiest scene that I've done a spell with? At least to me.
Oh, I will allow it, because I guess that translates to the sexiest spell.
When I played an illusionist wizard in your one shot, and I had the boss attacking like my shadow clone, and when I was at like 1 health, and like I look over and I'm like, not so fast, and then I cast disintegrate and like kill him. That was like delicious to me. That was like some anime fucking shit to me.
Cool. Yeah, I can agree with that. Okay, Nate, sexiest spell. You've either seen, done, or no, just no.
I can't really say. Mostly because I am unable to remember the name of any spell, but also because there are so many different there are so many different opportunities and scenes or situations that I have witnessed where a spell was used really well, but I simply cannot remember what happened. So unfortunately this question was not made for me. I can't answer that.
All right, Nick, give us your all.
I don't know if there's an objectively best or like sexiest spell, but I will say one of my proudest moments as a spellcaster was in another campaign. We were approaching like this barbarian camp or something, and I think I don't remember all the details, but I'm pretty sure they had like it was either like a hill giant or like an ogre or something like trapped. So I was a warlock, a great old one warlock, and we were able to get into where the monster was being held. We freed it, and then I cast Enemies Abound on it and ran away. And it just
What's Enemies Abound do?
it makes whatever you cast. So you cast it on a creature, and then that creature views like everyone as hostile.
Oh my god.
Really good. Really good.
Okay,
So-
yeah, that's pretty good.
That's hot.
That-
That's
That's
hot as
pretty
fuck.
good.
That's pretty delicious.
That's hot as fuck.
I just thought of one.
Okay, go
A
for it.
scene that I remember that I was actually thinking of the other day and how much I enjoyed it. And it was during your one shot, when I was playing as the cleric, and we had just dropped in, and we were about I think we had just kidnapped one of the guards that was walking around.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know
Outside.
exactly. I think I know. what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah, outside the castle, and I think it was Nick. Yeah, it was Nick, Asante, and I, right? I think we were the ones that were there.
Yes.
And it was something like one of you took the clothes off of the guard, another one of you had an ability that allowed you to change and disguise yourself, and then I was like, oh, I like the way you think, and I cast disguise self on myself.
I
and
remember.
and so all three of us were disguised in like a different way, and
Yeah.
I thought that was excellent, and I loved watching your reaction, Blake, because it was hilarious.
Could I
I
add
think-
on to
I
that
think-
because it happened seconds
Oh.
later?
Go.
When we were going up to the thing and the guards that were on patrol were like, "We've never seen you before. Where are you coming from?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, well it's very simple. And then made it look like an arrow had shot me in the chest and made them go investigate that instead of dealing with us.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
I think I enjoy being a DM when they're spellcasters. I think that's my fucking drug because I know what spells are, and like when they start to do them, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's good. And I don't want to take it away from the player.
Yeah, illusion spells are really good for those fun moments of just like absolute bullshittery, like what you've just described, Nick. Enemies Abound. I imagine that's some sort of like
That's
mind
so
altering. That's
fucking
hilarious.
Yeah, I've
good.
used it a
That's
couple
so good.
times, but like that one scenario was probably the best time I've ever
Particularly
used
fun.
it.
That's really good. I think probably in my mind the sexiest spell. One, counterspell will always be sexy at a table. If you are a wizard and
did
you
you
cast
mean,
counterspell,
Cuck the spell. Get fucking cucked out of whatever
Yeah.
spell you want to do.
but we did this event, and this is probably the only time I've ever had fun in college when it comes to D&D. We did this event where it was like it was part of the campaign, but like we had to fight it was like a fighting pit, and it was when I only had like 5 other players, so it was really fun and I liked it. And it wasn't like 12 of them.
Mhm.
But it was like a fighting pit, so they had the other team of NPCs. They had a healer and all this stuff, and I was playing my Hexblade Warlock, drunk bastard, and he was fighting and stuff, and they had a healer, and the healer was gonna cast some sort of healing spell
Hmm.
because the team was losing. I think it was Mass Cure Wounds, which is super good.
Oh, of course.
And I was like, counterspell. And he was like, what? And I was like, I'm going to counterspell the healing. And he's like, can you do that? And I was like, I'm 100% sure I can. And then they died the next turn because they all had single-digit hit points.
Incredible.
Dude, counterspelling healing spells needs to be done more. Be afraid, people in my campaign.
I gotta write something down. Hold up.
I think people just don't understand that they can counterspell like cleric spells.
Hmm.
Like when you think counterspell, you're gonna counterspell a wizard spell, but like you can counterspell anything.
Yeah.
That's a spell. And I think that's why it's like super, super
And
cool.
that is dangerous.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to none of you really watch Critical Role. I think Shanti does. But dude, at the end of the campaign they did the big bad evil guy was gonna get away. He was using teleport,
put a,
which is like a set.
That's a spoiler warning.
Oh, spoiler warning. Big spoiler warning if you're watching it. Don't listen. So the big bad evil guy is going to get away with teleport, which is a level 7 spell.
Right.
And that means that you have to roll really fucking well with counterspell or use it at a higher level. And so their bard only had a 9th level spell. And he was saving it to use on their I think he was a rogue paladin that was like cursed by the Raven Queen, and he was gonna be killed at the end of the campaign. Like, he made a deal. He was like, "Hey, keep me alive, keep me immortal until this person's dead."
Right.
And then she was like, all right, fuck it. And he was gonna use the wish spell, which is like super fucking powerful.
Yeah.
His and be like, I wish that curse is broken. But then he was like in the fight, and he was like, hey, is it worth it keeping him here? And he's like, oh yeah, finna. And he used a 9th level counter spell slot to keep him there, and then they killed him, and then they realized that they couldn't save his friend, and that's why counterspell is so fucking cool, because like it can literally shift the tide of an entire fight.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, dude, counterspell.
Yeah, I think pulling
counterspell,
out the Uno reverse card is pretty powerful when someone's on the verge of death.
Yeah. I was trying to think. There's another spell.
Yo,
I really
Nads
enjoy.
has to learn counterspell somehow, and that's the card that he pulls out. Is just the Uno reverse card.
Stupid.
I feel like you pull out like the Joker or something and throw that in the way of the spell, whatever it is. Would it? Dude, I don't even know. Maybe like what? Okay, what's Magic Initiate? Is that? Cause I know what it is, but like, can you just take could you take a spell from that?
From Magic?
Magic. Oh, they're only. Oh, actually, you learn a 1st level spell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think counterspell is.
Pretty sure.
3rd level. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nad's actually multi-classes into wizard. Crazy.
Sure.
How stupid would that be?
No,
if anything, it would be wild magic sorcerer. So we have 2 of them.
We don't
He goes to pull out a card, and he pulls out a bomb instead. Like, oh well.
Guess I'll die. Yeah, counterspell. Counterspell and spiritual weapon are probably the same.
Also, smites are kind of hot if you flavor them good. Just saying.
Oh god, yeah. I saw a really good smite at college because some of them are really creative, and I like some of them because, I mean, some of them are okay. There's like 3 that are like I like. They're cool, but like one of they were playing an Oathbreaker paladin. I don't really play paladins. I think that's one.
Yes,
the evil one. And his smite, he'd hit them, and there'd be like spectral arms that would come up from the ground, like grave hands,
right?
And like scratch at them for the smite, because he was like super like edgy. But like I thought that was kind of neat. It wasn't like the big flame of light that hits them. It was like more playing into his aesthetic.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah,
and like that stuff's cool. Like you gotta flavor smites right.
Or if you can flavor spells, or I guess Hunter's Mark isn't this. Well, I actually don't remember if that's a spell or an ability, but whatever. If you can flavor that, or like Hex right, or like Hexblade's Curse or whatever, and just have it be interesting, that could be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of just being like that's bad guy.
I cast.
Bad guy Hex.
Yeah, definitely marking spells are hard to flavor. Hashtag Fairy Fire is underused. Hit that shit up. Good spell. Nate, you messaged me about a really interesting topic you want to touch on.
Yeah, more in relation to DMing style and like the plot of the campaign. I've been in a couple campaigns actually in which the DM would take, and this isn't so much coming down on cinematic cutscenes in campaigns where the DM kind of takes control away from the players and gives them a little, cinematic description. I'm not saying those are bad, because those, I think, if you can do those well, and if you don't, start making choices for the characters that wouldn't make sense, then that's fine. But in some way, the DM removes control from the players in order to transition to something else. And for me, I think that it's because the DM doesn't believe that the players can get to this next area without, them losing all control and then forcibly bringing them over here. That's my take on it, and I think that I'm a little biased in because I've been in a couple campaigns like that where that has occurred. That it's just a thing where it's like, oh well, that's old now.
I think that with that kind of stuff, I think if you do it like late into the campaign, I don't like it. But like as like an early setup, I think it works way better. Like, I think if you use it in the first session opposed to the 60th session, way different in like, I guess, objective. Because like once you're already in there and you're in like the main story, like you could probably figure out a way to get them somewhere. But if it's like the setup to the story, I think it's like kind of okay. Granted, I've done it, and I think, I think in my mind, it's just a way to get you moving. But like, I think it should be only done sparingly.
Well,
definitely
the scenarios in which you can do those sorts of things, like there's certain scenarios where it's acceptable and there's certain scenarios where it isn't. So like say, okay, this is just like an example, but like say, oh actually yeah, say like the players are like going through like the woods, let's say, and they hear like a noise, and so they can either decide to go and investigate it or decide to get out of there. So if the players go and investigate it, they're gonna get whatever consequences they get from investigating it. But if instead the players decide that they're afraid of it and try and get out of there, there's kind of like sometimes you can have some sort of repercussion for that. You probably should have some sort of repercussion for that, but it shouldn't be the same repercussion as if you were to go there. Like if they hear a noise and it's some if it's like a giant or something that's like coming down and you hear like a big like booms coming down or whatever, I don't know, and the players decide to run away, like
you shouldn't have to drag them back and be like, you're supposed to do this. You shouldn't like
make the giant just suddenly appear in front of them and now you have to fight this giant. Like, no, you should have something different that's like they can successfully get away from the giant, but then the giant hurts like other people or hurts like a nearby town or like destroys that. There should be different consequences, but there should still be consequences for that.
Yeah, or like ease off on like the problem, like because they're taking a different action. Like to use yesterday's session, you guys made some like bomb ass points on what was happening because you looked like you kind of folded those people by the cart. You made some bomb ass points, and I took note of that, and I was like, made some really good arguments, and there's gonna be lesser, spoilers, lesser bad, opinion based off of it. I mean, and like that's what you should do. You should morph with the like if the players go against your idea of like the cutscene and they make a good choice, you shouldn't be like, but you should still go my way. There should be some noticeable shift and like reward them, even if it's the same path that you want them to go. Add a little bit of like, you did good, like there you go, like that was smart, like you really like you broke my expectations there. You shouldn't just like set them on a path.
Or the classic example of an encounter that's supposed to kill the PCs and then they win the encounter. You should be prepared for that.
Right.
My name's Blake, and me. Hashtag my 5th session.
I think I'm gonna throw an example, an anonymous example on a situation where I didn't like it, knocking out the party in order to move them somewhere, and yes,
I'm gonna call them out
there
directly.
was context as to why, but it still sucks. Because as the player continually just or repeatedly getting just knocked out and then waking up somewhere else, it's like, well, like what's even the point of going anywhere now? Because these, I'll give the context. Yeah, sure. So it's a
Yeah, Nate, bro.
I'm really bad at this.
We are not judgmental. Like it's all a learning experience, bro.
The campaign was set in a futuristic setting, and I absolutely want to do another futuristic campaign. Because I love that stuff.
Was this one of ours?
No, actually.
Okay. I was like, you weren't there for Nate's.
Yeah, no, I was actually there.
I was like, wait, were you? I was so confused.
Yeah, no, it was a futuristic campaign, and we were agents.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we were agents for an organization. And this organization somehow had gotten something in each of us that they could just like activate, and then we would basically shut down. And while they were very secretive, and they didn't want us to know where their base was in case we, I don't know, betrayed them or whatever, but still, it's that concept of
it's the equivalent of a loading screen.
Yeah. And I think that
it's like you do the mission.
I think that it could have been better handled if there was a location that we went to in which we, got conked out.
Yeah.
It's like a rendezvous. You go out, do the mission, and then return to this point. And then we will, retrieve you from there. But in this situation, it was, we're going to drop you here, you do the thing, and then just, like, right after you do the thing, we're grabbing you. And we didn't even have a chance to, understand what was going on. And it was kind of lame. From my perspective, the character I was playing wasn't, he didn't reflect my... what the hell you call it? The character the character I was playing didn't reflect my opinion, my negative opinion on it. He was just kind of like, oh, well, this is the way it goes, and I understand. But yeah, for me, I think that knocking the players out is definitely not the first thing you should do, as it takes away the sense of agency that the players have, and it.
Yeah, I mean, if
like,
you.
I think it should be a vessel, like, more or less to freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, get them set up, and then, like, if anything, let it lead to something. Don't waste it, and don't do it too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my idea with my conk out is, like, this is like your setup, and then I'm just gonna let you go, basically. Because I talked to Nate about this. I want this campaign to be freedom, and, like, I haven't shown that yet, but it's like more or less I'm setting up that freedom. And I'm gonna just kind of throw you out there eventually, but, like, also we have people that haven't played as much, so I wanted to, like, give them a chance to learn a little bit, and then go, and then hope
getting knocked out as, like, a hook to the campaign, like, that's can be really interesting. Also, if people are telling the players that, like, hey, this place is dangerous, and then the players go there, I mean. And then they get knocked out. Like, that's kind of like that's on them. That's and that makes sense, and that's a player choice. But just having something come in and just be like, "Ooh, you're unconscious now. Sorry." Like,
yeah. I think I've done this and I hate it, and I definitely hate it, and, like, I don't like seeing it happen. But, like, if you have, like, a DC of, like, someone's gonna get knocked out and they succeed, like, don't throw another DC at them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they succeed, like Ashanti succeeded on not getting fucking blinded, and I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna make him make another save because that's stupid, and that just shows me being like, you must go this way. That's dumb.
Yeah.
I just had him get dragged along, and now he sees, and maybe there's something that's gonna come of that. But like, you don't want to barrage them with.
You also
impossible DCs. I hate that shit. I've done it so much, and now I hate myself for it. And you shouldn't do it. Don't do it. Don't make them roll and then just be like, it didn't work. Like have a DC. If you're gonna make them roll a save,
I got
like that DC was 20 and somebody succeeded.
Yeah, I got a 32 on my perception check. Can't see it. Sorry.
That's
if you don't want them to see something,
yep.
If you don't want a player to see something, make them see something else. Don't just say no. Like that's dumb. Like you gotta like if you're like there's the fucking I don't know some like kidnapping happening or something. If you don't want them to see that and they roll a fucking 32, make them see something that alludes to.
Yeah, right.
So you don't show them that directly, but you do show them that.
Right.
That like it's obvious enough that's what's happening, but like don't show them. You don't give them the whole thing.
Yeah, because
don't just say no and be like that's it.
Yeah, and that's
true.
That's
then
another
that's like
thing.
you're like then you're like what the fuck do I do? Like what's the point?
I guess it's kind of another thing is like the difference between perception and investigation. I know that's like kind of off, but like perception.
That's definitely a hot topic.
Yeah,
though.
investigation is like this. Like you can tell that like this is kind of what happening. Perception is just the ability to see things or hear things and like it's not this is what's happening, it's this is what you see or this is what you hear, and the higher the check the more you see or hear. It's not the more you understand. So yeah,
right. I feel like
there's a difference between hearing a robbery and going to the aftermath of a robbery and piecing it together.
I feel like a way that like can kind of deal with that, and I feel like it's not used as much as it should be, is languages. Like you could have someone roll like
Finna
1,000
definitely
on a perception check, but be like, yeah, you see that the letter is written in Sylvan and you don't speak it. Like if you don't want them to see it, like you could put it in like a different language. Like maybe they have like some whack ability that's like I can read every language, and then that really throws a wrench in your plan.
Yeah, actual
Monks
ability.
Is dumb, bro.
yeah. As
God, no way.
I'm gonna reiterate a
But,
comment I read. Monks would be overpowered if they did damage.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Never experienced that.
No, wild.
But I feel
Surely.
like just there's this whole list of languages in D&D, and I mean I feel like it's just not used as much in a narrative piece almost, just because like it is hard to kind of keep track of like, okay, who can speak what between players and like NPCs. But I just think that if you want something hidden that someone might Solace roll a 95 on a perception check, be like, all right, well, I'm looking at your sheet that I have, and I know that you don't speak Giant. I'll make it written in Giant. But it also, on that, has to make sense that whoever is in ownership of that thing should also speak it.
Oh, absolutely,
like,
yeah.
Don't
obviously.
make like a half orc have
consistent.
something written in like halfling or something like that. Like that wouldn't make. I mean, it might make a lot of sense, but just that alone doesn't really, transition, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
For the sake of using a different language, don't just like pick a random, random
language.
bullshit one.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it's gotta make sense.
what the hell?
Yeah,
A child just passed by my window behind a bush.
Huh.
And he's coming back.
Oh
What
dear.
the hell?
Well, Shanti's gonna die. Code needs to get that story. Hold his ass.
Yeah, I'm a teen. They're gonna kick my ass.
Oh shit, that was the plot.
But like, I don't know. I know that I'm trying to incorporate that a lot into my campaign that I'm running now, And you saw it at the beginning when Alexis rolled like mad perception, and I was like, okay, well you see this, but you can also tell that it's written in Elvish, a language that you don't speak. But I also like, I wasn't like, sucks that you rolled really good and you get nothing because she got a number out of it. I feel like numbers, generally speaking, even in the real world, are pretty similar to each other. Like you could read Russian and you'd be able to decipher 1984 or something like that. You might not know any Russian,
right.
but you're like, that's a year. I can work with that.
Probably, yeah.
And also,
and so like
you kind of have with languages, different languages and stuff. If you don't speak it, you still have the opportunity to understand it eventually. If you can get somebody else to like look at it, or if you can like copy it down or something and get somebody else to look at it, like you still have the opportunity to understand it. That opportunity might not show itself until much later than you actually needed it, but or much later than it's actually useful. But still, it can be useful, and it can be an extra little thing that you can do.
I feel like consistency is definitely necessary. I don't know.
Consistency is key.
Just with what you choose to do. I don't know. And kind of going off a tangent, I guess, a little bit. I think weirdest thing in DMing is like throwing some how do I say this? Being too cool too soon, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I think I get what you're saying.
Like if you throw a Balgora at a level 3 party, you're like, okay, I've seen it all. I've fought a demon. Like these people are just dudes at the start of the campaign, basically.
Right.
So like you go, like that's why I was like, I'm gonna make it a goblin fight because they are just dudes. They aren't, they aren't going out and purposely fighting these things.
Yeah, these aren't adventurers yet. They're just we're at the beginning of the campaign right now.
I feel like people like kick off too hard.
It's like, hey, look at this Mind Flayer colony. All right, now go and fight some
goblins
in the level 2 party.
Yeah, like that's what I wanted to like achieve with mine. It's like you are just in a world.
Yeah. Okay.
There are small threats.
Damn kid, that's good. Yeah.
And like I feel like you jump into the deep end too early. The players are one expecting it, like afterwards, and two, they aren't surprised when they fight something smaller. They're like, oh, it's pushover.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to, and I think praise be Matt Mercer, God bless. But like I think he does that very well, where like the cool people are there, but they're dealing with the big boy things.
Oh,
and
right.
Like, you're not on their level yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think of like a wizard city as like, yeah, people have magic, but there's definitely one person that is way fucking cooler. You don't know what they can do.
Yeah, there's always going to be that.
You don't know when you'll see it.
User that's just like, I have 3.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be obviously like. It's. I feel like you shouldn't dive too deep in with the cool. Make them earn it. Make them see the gifted NPCs or the gifted group of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Which I don't know. I feel like that's a good way of like giving the world depth of like, yeah, these people, like your adventurers know the arcane, but like these people really know the arcane, and there's like 4 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's way cooler.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
But also don't make it like a MacGuffin where like these people come in to save you, like because they're really good at magic. Like that's also super fucking. Weird. That's a scapegoat. That's kind of like weird. Like don't have them show up just to be like I'm cool. Like have them show up either because they made a relationship with the party or like something else is happening.
Right.
I don't know. That's my opinion on consistency.
Yeah, that's a good point. Don't be too cool too early. Yeah, no, that's really good.
Also,
I mean, I think I'm guilty of it.
Also, I mean,
I'm not.
You should try and make things obviously the players will enjoy, but don't make like specific things with the intent of the players getting attached to them, because the players can get attached to crazy things, to like anything. So you kind of just have to like
fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
I've hella experienced that with my very first campaign. Yep. Like, it didn't even finish it. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that was so stupid. And well, I made I made that mistake. And I don't know. Maybe you guys can give me your opinion on how I handled it. But I think
Hold on. What are we talking about?
by making things that making a thing
Okay.
that the
Right.
yeah PCs get too attached to because they can get attached to fucking anything, and it's most of the time it's not the thing that you want. Like in my very first campaign, it was the it didn't even get finished, but it was like the first couple sessions. Um, I had the party fight in a tournament run by the giants of the country, and um, I had each party member fight by themselves against an enemy that was also in the tournament, but they were like matched up. So like casters would fight another caster, and then martial users would fight another martial user, and like quick ones like rogues and whatever would fight other quick martial characters. Um, and I had the caster go up against or I had one of the casters go up against another caster who was a little boy, and um,
Crazy.
the I had made like it was completely improv. I was like, oh yeah, his dad. Like you get the feeling that his dad was the one that wanted him to participate in the tournament, and not he didn't actually want to, but he's just here to please his dad. And so they were like, I will adopt the child. And I was like, did you what? Like, what do you mean? And then
I
they
don't know if that's how that
they,
works.
I mean, they essentially, it was equivalent to kidnapping. They took the child on the adventure with them after they won. And so I was like, well, I don't want this child with, like, in the dangerous world, because it's going to get a hell of a lot more scary from this point on. That was a stupid decision that the party made. So I had the child get killed almost immediately.
We handled that for you.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did that early.
Yeah, you guys handled that phenomenally by reducing the child to atoms almost immediately.
Dude, oh god.
But it was the consequences that I wanted to establish, that like that was a dumb move that you made. You can't take this child was here, and against their
Yeah.
will, and it's dangerous. And then you took
Definitely.
them into an even more dangerous situation simply for the fact of, oh, cute kid, ha ha ha,
Yeah.
like come with us, we'll protect you. And then they get absolutely destroyed. Like that's your bad.
Yeah.
I think establishing consequences and like making the player not feel small in the sense of like you're not important, but like that there's bigger than scarier things out there. Super important.
And you can't handle everything.
Oh my god, super important. I think god, I'm jacking off Critical Role so much that people are gonna think I'm a fanboy. I'm not. They're just good at what they do. Like it was like 32 sessions in or something like that. I don't really remember. But literally, they were just walking through a town, like super normal day at night, and fucking wizards like start flying through walls. Like these two like giant like powerful wizards start battling it out, right? And they can't do anything about that. Like that's not their problem.
Yeah, that's so out of their league.
They're just in the and like I think that's important to be like that shit. Nah, fam, you ain't ready. Like, and they just had to run. Like that was their job. Like collateral damage was their enemy at the point, and that was super cool. Except they didn't do that, and they ran after the fight and chased down the fucking fighter in the sewer and beat the shit out of him after he was like beaten to a pulp. It was crazy, but like I think that's important to like be like you can't do everything just because you're the player character. That shit will fuck you up faster than I want it to.
Yeah.
And consequences of like doing that or following like something that obviously is dangerous should be done. but obviously, like, if it's like kind of dangerous, like, don't destroy them for like being like, I want to take a risk.
Mhm.
There's a difference between a risk and something stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's a risk
already been an
stealing
hour.
every vehicle you come across in order to save money. It's
That's a risk.
stupid to hijack it in the middle of space travel.
that is true.
Mhm.
Yep. It's also stupid to blow up a toilet, but we're not going to talk about that.
Right. Yeah.
What do you mean? All right, I gotta defend myself on that. That was purely for distraction.
I mean, I guess it worked, but also that was pretty good. I can't be too angry at it. Don't smack the enchantment wizard. Hashtag. Yeah. Well, it's been almost an hour.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, it's
it's
been
been
over
past
an
an
hour.
hour.
Yeah.
Well over an hour.
Damn, bro. All right. I guess we could leave it
Mhm.
there. Save some discussion for
Yeah.
later.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Jesus. Time flies when I don't know. Stuff. Well, Shanti, bring us out. Lead us out in a sick ass outro that you made just now and prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a whole thing written up actually. So this has been the first inaugural episode of Table Talk. If you're listening out there, thank you very much. I hope you come back next time after we do the second episode. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about. If you have anything that you think would be interesting for us to talk about, any topics, anything, like any funny stories that you want us to like analyze, like our take on it, like how we would have handled it, either like as a player, DM, or whatever, just, let us know. But thank you for listening and have a great day.
Beans. That's good.